Darrell alluded to, we have two Dr. Davises at the meeting today. So it's my pleasure to introduce Dr. Joshua Davis. Very highly qualified, comes to us, and it's always nice to have someone that shares our mission as Kiwanis as far as serving children. So it's very nice to have that with us. But Joshua, don't want to mess it up here. He's a veteran educator specializing in educational leadership and policy analysis. His areas of expertise include the change process, cultivating a positive student culture and climate, opening a new public high school. Dr. Davis, he's published. He's currently the principal at Westridge, and one of the interesting things that, as I look through his resume, he has served in every capacity from pre-K through higher ed at ETSU. So he is also an adjunct professor at ETSU, currently been doing that since 2015. He formerly worked in the Kingsport City School systems, and also he is the recipient in 2008 as Teacher of the Year for Kingsport City Schools, and in 2021 as High School Principal of the Year for Sullivan County Schools. So very well qualified, and very definitely my pleasure to introduce Dr. Davis.
Thank you so much. I'm going to try to figure out how to use both hands and things in both hands. So, I would like to start. You mentioned brags, Dr. Davis. I would like to begin by thank you to all of you and to the Kiwanis Club. Your support for our Key Club at Westridge has been unlike anything that we receive from any other group anywhere around. So please know that we appreciate all that you do for us, and continue to remember our Key Clubbers in everything that you do, and think about us, because we love to help our community, and we love to come out and to partner with you in meeting all of our mission, which is to improve the lives of children everywhere. I love to come out and talk about Westridge High School. It feels like we've been open now for 10 years. We've been open for 18 months. It feels like 10 years. I had the privilege of being hired as the principal 15 months or so prior to the opening of Westridge. So when I came in, the building was a shell. And then to watch it become what it is today has truly been an honor and a privilege. I'm going to give you just a little bit of information about the school, just so you know where it stands, and then I'm going to spend the majority of my time this morning talking about our kids, because they really are why we have been so successful, and they're the reason for our success. We are obviously a brand new high school in Sullivan County. We have about 2,000 students, 9 through 12. My faculty roughly runs between 230 to 250 in the building each day. We have 8 administrators. There's myself and 7 other assistant principals. We're royal blue, gray, white. Our mission and vision, these are critical to everything I'm about to talk to you about this morning. But our goal is to become one of the best high schools in the country. And our matrix for this is that USA World report that comes out annually. It is our goal, our desire, to be consistently one of those top 100 high schools in the country on that list. Kingsport's very blessed to have one already in Dobyns-Bennett, and we want to be another one that's on that list consistently year after year. And the way that you do that is by the courses that you offer: student success, AP coursework, access to college and career opportunities. And so those are things that really were part of the driving force behind the consolidation and the creation of Westridge High School. We wanted in Sullivan County to make sure that our students had access to everything that we could possibly give them, including more AP coursework, more college credit, those types of things. And then which led to our ultimate vision, which is, I'm sorry, that should be mission, not vision. Our mission, which is that every student will graduate with a Diploma Plus. What that means is that not only are they graduating with their high school diploma, but every student will leave Westridge High School with something in addition to that. And that began on day one of Westridge High School opening 18 months ago. So whether that is college credit, many of our students are leaving with up to 32 hours of college coursework going into high school. That's leading into their sophomore year of college. Many of our students are leaving with industry certifications that they can go straight into the workforce. We have students that are graduating from Northeast State 2 weeks with an associate's degree prior to graduating high school. Those are all part of that Diploma Plus initiative so that every single student leaves high school with something in addition to their high school diploma. So what does that look like, or what does that mean for us in terms of our students? We have multiple opportunities with our main partners, which are Northeast State, East Tennessee State, and TCAT. We have a lot, we're less than a mile away from Northeast State. So many of our many of our career programs of study lead into either industry certification programs or 2-year associate's degree through Northeast State. On the other side of that, for our 4-year students, or our students who are planning to major in something that entails a 4-year degree or advanced degrees, we're getting them into ETSU primarily early. Many of our students start taking ETSU courses. Some have even started the end of their sophomore year, but by their junior year, they're into ETSU coursework, and they're working on this first year and a half of college coursework prior to leaving us. We have some early articulation programs. Right now, one of the big ones is the College of Pharmacy at ETSU. So we've got early entrance programs there where we're able to go ahead and get them into as early acceptance students and then start that for Pharm Tech certifications, clinicals for nursing students, different things within that health science field. Prior to opening Westridge, our 3 high schools that consolidated into Westridge, Sullivan Central and Sullivan South, had 9 programs of study in the career technical world. North had 4. Students at Westridge have access, that says 29, but we've added 2 this year. We now have 31 programs of study in-house at Westridge, and they have access to another 12 at Northeast State. So pretty much anything that you can think of, we offer either in-house or through partnerships with Northeast State for our students who are looking at specific career pathways. Some of the new ones that are on here, like cybersecurity, that's brand new. We have one pastry and baking arts in the culinary field. We are the only program in the state of Tennessee that offers that. Aviation, we're one of a handful that offer, and our students leave with an FAA unmanned pilot's license to fly drones for construction companies, Amazon, Google, those kinds of places. We have those drones in-house, and we train them on how to use them, and they leave with that FAA unmanned pilot's license. So Diploma Plus, here's some stats that kind of go along with that. We currently have 526 juniors and seniors, so think about that out of 1,900 students that are currently enrolled in dual enrollment courses receiving college coursework. That's how many kids are actually taking those classes. We have new programs of study that I just mentioned. 748 students, 748 are currently enrolled in some form of AP coursework. We've expanded our AP courses threefold, where we originally at the 3 former high schools were offering 6 to 8. We now have 20 plus AP courses on campus at Westridge that our students have access to. And then we have actual industry certifications where they can go straight into whatever career that they're wanting to go into in 18 of those programs of study that I mentioned before with CTE. You've read the newspapers. We have different successes with athletics. For example, our volleyball made it to the state championship tournament. They were, I think, 6th in the state this year. Boys basketball were District 1 4A champions a few weeks ago. Our Alphas dance team qualified for national championships where they placed 6th in the country. And our varsity cheer were 4th in the state, so multiple accolades in athletics. So really, the reason that I'm here, and I think I've got about 10 minutes, is that right? Is to talk about our story and to talk about who and what drove this. We certainly had the community that got behind many years ago with the consolidation plans, with the funding to build the high school, to consolidate schools. But really, that was the first piece of it. Then you take 2,000 kids, you take 300 adults, and you throw them in a big building, and something's got to happen, right? So that's where our story begins, and that's where we began our work. This happened before. Many of you may have remembered or may have been part of the most recent consolidation of Sullivan County schools prior to Westridge, and that was in the 80s, when Sullivan County consolidated a bunch of high schools and opened South, North, Central Heights, Rock Springs, the Holston Complex. All of that happened roughly in and around 1980. So for about 40 some years, our communities were fairly stable, and then we get to 2021 when we needed to consolidate again. I'm here to discuss the why, the politics, those kinds of things, because everyone knows how that played out. What I am here to talk about, though, is what we did once we got in the building. We had to build a new culture. I spent a lot of time in that planning year, prior to opening Westridge, talking to different people. I was very fortunate that our now director of schools, who at the time was a consultant, had experienced the consolidation in 1980. She was a new teacher, and Ms. Ravlowski kind of lived through that process of what happened in 1980 when they closed those high schools and they opened North and South. The thing that I heard repeated, were any of you involved or went to school at North or South during that 80s consolidation? Anybody in here? One of the things that I kept hearing over and over and over was that it took many years for those cultures to mesh. That for a long time, for example, at Sullivan North, where I was the principal of, that you had a group of students that were from Ketron, you had a group of students that were from Lynview, and they kind of acted as individual groups within that building. And it took several cycles, several generations of that to cycle through before you truly had what became the cultures of Sullivan North and Sullivan South. We knew going into this, because let's face it, we'll be real, there was a lot of negative thoughts and attention about us consolidating and closing North and South and moving those kids in Central and moving these three populations into Westridge. So from a community standpoint, there was already the negative thoughts, the negative attention. This isn't going to work. In fact, we had politicians saying that it would take multiple generations to move past the division or the divisiveness that had been created by the whole process. We knew that the school couldn't withstand that. Something new like that with a new culture, we had to do something different. We had to make creating a positive culture for these kids coming into this situation the best that it possibly could, because it's not their fault, right? I mean, we had seniors, we had 17-year-olds who had just went through COVID, so a pandemic where their schools were shut down and all these kinds of things, who thought they were going to graduate from Sullivan South. All of a sudden, their senior year, were being picked up and dumped into a new school with two other school populations. And that happened, we had 560 seniors where that was the case. So they would spend their last year of school at Westridge. So what did we do? What happened? What was our focus? We really looked at, and all of the research for change, for culture building, we spent a lot of time talking to a lot of people, including people that had lived through it here in this area with the last consolidation. And we really pulled out these things, these pieces, from not only research, but from just what we were hearing and trying to code it and say, okay, this is what people were saying. Okay, once, for the people talking about North-South, that transition in the 80s, once those generational cycles filtered through, what was it that brought these populations together, aside from time, because we didn't have time. And these are the things that we kept hearing: traditions, rituals, creating things to celebrate, quick wins, early wins, And so we really tried to start honing in on these things and building experiences and opportunities, especially for our seniors, because we knew that for this to happen, that senior group, this had to happen with them. Everybody in that school was looking up to them, and we needed them to know this, to understand this, and to take charge and to own this part of it. So that leads me to talk about today's students. And again, keep in mind, we had multiple people saying that it would take generations for this school culture to be born, to not see South, to not see North, to not see Central. This top picture, this was our very first football game 3 weeks into school. Do you see anything that says Sullivan North, Sullivan South, Sullivan Central on that? First football game, we showed up, we sold out, new capacity record for Volunteer Stadium. We had 600 students show up wearing school colors, screaming like banshees for their new team. They didn't even know what the fight song was. We tried to teach it to them, but they really didn't. They didn't care. They didn't care. So what was different? What was different? So that's really the question that we have had to continue to ask ourselves and to continue to talk about, and really what I want to talk about, and that is the student. Because everything that we have done and every success that we have had, this picture was 2 months ago. It's when we played Dobbins Bennett at North. So this was this basketball season. So the momentum has continued. That was homecoming. This was a football game this year. So it wasn't a one-time thing. It was something that started here from this senior class that has just continued to build in momentum and build and build and build. And it really goes back to the student. And so what we have to think about and what we have to look at are the people that's leading this change, that's leading this. And these are our kids. And Dr. Davis mentioned it to me, and I'm going to keep saying it over and over and over. She was bragging on our kids, our key clubbers, and some of the work and the help that they've done to you. This generation, they get lots of things thrown at them, but there's something special. And that's what I will continue to talk about every chance that I get. I want you to meet Generation Z. So this was a football video, so please excuse the footballness of it. But what I like about this, and I'm not going to show the whole thing, but I just want you to watch. I just want you to see the kids, because this is really a telling piece of who they are and what they're about. And they made this. They're really tech savvy too. They could have fixed our microphone issues in like 3 seconds.
The West Ridge Wolves. West Ridge High School. West Ridge High School. West Ridge High School. West Ridge High School. West Ridge the Wolves playing their first ever game against Volunteer.
Remember, it was going to take multiple generations to bring them together. So I wanted to just show you that is a long video, so we're not going to watch the whole thing. If I can get back to this, there we go. What I really want to talk about, though, are them, meet Generation Z. What we know about them and what we used to foster this coming together. We didn't have to do a whole lot initially because, unlike 1980, where you probably brought to high school, let's use North for example, where we brought Linview and Sullivan County brought Linview and Ketron together. A lot of those students didn't know each other. That's not what we dealt with Westridge. Our kids are connected. They know each other through social media. They play with each other during travel ball, during cheer, during gymnastics. They are connected in many ways. Even if they don't go to school together, they're connected. My daughter, who is 18 and is a senior, she has friends that she's probably never met in person, but she would say to me, oh, I know who that is, but she knows who that is because of the connections that she has through social media. So what we know about them and what we had to think about and what we had to use in the opening and the planning of this are these pieces. And this is really what drove our goal and our mission of bringing them together. First of all, they're digital natives. They're the first generation in history that are native digitally. That means they wake up, they were born with phones in their hands, basically. My son, who's 11, if he were to walk up to this screen, he is going to think this is a touch screen. He's not going to understand that he has to go to this computer and make it work. He thinks everything is a touch screen, but they're digitally native. They are connected in many, many ways. 1 million selfies are taken every day between the ages of, for people between the ages of 18 and 24. 91% of our kids that are digital natives use their digital devices in bed. Now, people that don't understand what that means in terms of being a digital native, we think it's I would think it was a bad thing. Many of you may think it's a bad thing. I hear parents all the time come in and talk to me that they have no friends. Their kids have no friends. They're not social. They're not this. They're not that. They stay on their phones all the time. What are they doing on their phones? Socializing. It's just a different form of socializing. They're not going to meeting place X and talking to their friends. They're talking to their friends all night long on their social media accounts. They're still socializing. They're just socializing in a different way. Our kids today are more social than any of us in this room. I promise you that. It's just in a different way, and we have to understand that. So, and a lot of the things that we've had to do in opening the high school is think about how we're doing things differently. Like the video that I just showed you, we have an entire class and production team that pumps those things out every week. I get videos, we have a YouTube channel. I have things all the time being sent to me that our kids are creating, silly stuff. That I'm thinking, why in the world did they do this? But I'm sure there is some reason why they did it, and there's some learning that took place with it. But you have to know that about this generation, because that's how they communicate with each other. That's how they communicate their learning. And ultimately, when they leave high school, that's how they're going to expect to communicate in the workplace as well. They're in it for the long haul. Unlike some of our millennial friends, and if you're a millennial, I'm talking about myself too. I'm not being mean, I promise. They're hardworking, very hardworking. They focus on long-term stability. Yes, they have side hustles and they think they're going to make millions of dollars, doing whatever on the side, but they still want those careers and those career pathways that are long-term and that are stable. 76% of them are willing to start at the bottom and work their way up. That's not millennials that are the dominant force in the workforce right now. That's the opposite of them. But they believe in starting at the bottom and working hard and working their way up. 75% or more, here's another big difference between their millennial counterparts that are in the workforce right now. They are more worried about their career pathways and career opportunities than they are finding a soulmate. The number of kids that come to us all the time talking about what are they going to do when they leave. That's why we talk about Diploma Plus, because they're having those conversations so much earlier now than they did before. And then this is a biggie, and people need to understand this, that diversity is a given with this generation. They are the most diverse generation in our history, and they will continue to be so. So we have to know that, and we have to understand that, and we have to make sure that we're making accommodations and we're making that a part of who we are in the workforce as we move forward as well. I know my time is running out because I want to make sure that I leave time for questions. But I do want to leave you with this. People ask me all the time, good job. What are you all doing up there? It's not me. It's not me. It's them. And I hope I've spent 20 minutes reinforcing to you how important they have been to our success early on and how important they're going to be moving forward with our success. Mayor Shull has a...
Oh,